My name is Meredith McCaig. I'm the Associate Dean for the Undergraduate Medical Education Program at the University of Saskatchewan. And it's my huge privilege to be your MC this afternoon. As we gather here today, we acknowledge that we're on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis people. We pay our respects to the First Nations and Métis ancestors of this place, and we reaffirm our relationship with one another. So I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all family and friends of the class of 2025, and to those of you who are able to join us online. Also to our distinguished guests, many of whom will later serve as cloakers. We thank the College of Medicine Alumni Association for ongoing support, and the Saskatchewan Medical Association, which has provided sponsorship for today's ceremony. It's quite a thrill to be with all of you today. I'd like to ask, with a quick show of hands, how many people this is the first time you've gotten dressed up in the last couple of years? For me, it's definitely the first time I've put on high heels. To start us off, I'd like to introduce Judy Pelly. Ms. Judy Pelly will provide a ceremonial welcome to begin our program today. Judy is a traditional knowledge keeper and cultural advisor originally from Cote First Nation. She was raised with Anishinaabe and Saulteaux cultural traditions. She's a practitioner and attends and participates in her family and her community cultural activities. Thank you very much to Val Arnaud-Pelchier for bringing Judy here today. We're truly honored to have Judy here with us to help provide a greeting to start us off in a good way. Judy?
Thank you. And once again, it's a great honor to be here. What's happening here? What a great honor to be asked to address this very distinguished audience, and especially the young people that are becoming new to this profession, and very young. I just look at, oh my God, some of them look like 12 years old. And I want to say that in my Anishinaabe culture, and we don't use technology when we're saying our prayers in our ceremonial language. And prior to coming here, just before I came, I smudged and I prayed for in my language in the way that I was taught by my ancestors. And in my prayers, I asked the Creator to be with us today, to open our minds and our hearts, and to address the people that I need to. And I always ask the Creator, help me say the right thing to my audience, whoever they may be. I have worked very closely with some people from the College of Medicine, as well as some of the researchers that are doing research on Indigenous health. And as you know, as health authorities and people, I also have a contract with them, with the Saskatchewan Health Authority. I'm a contractor. I work with many organizations, and all across Saskatoon and beyond. With COVID, we've been able to address audiences all over the world. So, like again, I said, it's a very much a privilege to work, to be with you and to work with you in research in the area of Indigenous health. As you know, that Indigenous people are overrepresented everywhere. We're overrepresented in the health care system, in the criminal justice system, and in child apprehension. And with that, also, I'd like to tell you that I'm an Indian residential school survivor. I survived sexual abuse and beatings in the schools. And the recent discovery of the bodies, the most recent one is my own home territory, and many of my relatives that went missing were recently found. So I always like to remind people of that dark history, because as you're going around in a health area, you're going to see an overrepresentation of Indigenous people that are overrepresented in mental health and addictions, in everything, diabetes, and in almost everything. We're at the top. Organ donation, waiting for organs, Indigenous people. And you're going to see also many people see the people that are going down on the vulnerable people and people that are suffering mental health and addictions. I work before COVID. I would go from the St. Paul's Hospital to the detox all the way down to the homeless shelter. And those are the people that I speak about. I speak on behalf of those that don't have a voice, and especially ask the health professionals and people to understand that history. Take some training in anti-racism and the history of our people. I also belong to a research group that helps people understand Indigenous populations before you go out there. Because in my years, we'd have people come in and going out of our reserve doing research and never to talk to the people, and probably not even knowing those historical injustices that happened. We have many things that have happened, and the worst of those historical injustices is that in Indian residential schools. So 100% of the people that I'm working with in homelessness, people that are, I work with women that are trafficked, I work with women that are coming out of jails, I work with women that are fighting with crystal meth, with all those things. Those are the people I work with, and I never judge them. I've gotten 2 degrees, and I've been a Dean of Health at SIIT, a small Indigenous institute, but at the same time, I go and I see them, and because I'm also a 22-year recovering alcoholic. Because of the things that happened to me in Indian residential school, I succumbed to alcoholism on weekends. It wasn't every single day, but somehow along the way I graduated, and I also got 2 degrees. So I thank the Creator for that. Somewhere, somehow, Creator helped me. But now I don't look at those experiences in residential school or that alcoholism where I lived. I look at them as in a positive way, because that's what makes me who I am. It's why I'm able to be here to address some of the issues that are my own lived experience, and they're not the dark history. They're just it just happened not too long ago, as you know, as the discovery of the graves and so on. It's not a long time ago. And so when you're going out there in the health profession and working with those overrepresentation of Indigenous peoples, take something that will help you understand the historical injustices, what happened in those residential schools, how we were beaten and taught not to speak our language or practice our culture, and how my childhood was taken away at 6 years old, and how I prevailed from that. I don't know. Creator, like I say, I pray and I ask the Creator to put me where I should be, and if I even reach one person in this crowd with anything that I've said, I've done my job. With that, you've got a big celebration here with these awesome young people that, like I said, some of them look like they're 12 or 13 years old. But I really, I think this is one of the other things that I'm very proud of is all the people that I work with at the university and as advocates and as allies. Lots of good work that's happening in our colleges with Indigenous peoples. And with that, I can get carried away and keep talking all day, but I just want to say, you know what, thank you very, very much, and what an honor to be here, and good luck for you're going into a profession that I'm sure that require that you also learn about love and compassion for the people that you serve, I'm sure, and proud parents that are here to see their children and that are partaking in this graduation or this ceremony, white coat ceremony. Thank you very much. Miigwech.
Thank you so much to Judy for those words of wisdom to help start you out on your path in medicine. As many of you know, this is a long-awaited event. We originally planned it for September, and of course the third wave came. And then we planned it for January, and the fourth wave came. And so we're really, really thrilled that all of us can be together in person today. With all of those changes, we had to keep letting the dean know that it was going to be a new date. And so he was originally not planned to be here today because he was going to be away with another commitment. But we're really delighted that he actually is able to be here, and just to say a few words to start us off, and then we'll continue on with Dr. Stobart bringing the message from the college. Thank you.
So, good afternoon. Thank you, Meredith, and thank you, Judy, for those profound words and your message about the importance of our work and the impact that these physicians, future physicians, can have on all of our communities, but particularly in this case in our Indigenous communities, is really important. So, thank you. Yeah, I was supposed to be elsewhere this week, but as Meredith pointed out, plans changed, and so that's really good for me because I can be here. I get to congratulate each of you when you leave the stage, and yet Dr. Stobart's going to do the work for me, so it's a good deal. He's very, very happy that he's doing that for me. On behalf of the College of Medicine, on behalf of the University of Saskatchewan, I want to welcome all the family and friends, I know how much families and friends enjoy this day. For the students, just welcome belatedly to your college. Welcome to the profession. And with that, I'll turn things back to Meredith.
Thank you very much to Dean Preston Smith. I'm now pleased to introduce Dr. Kent Stobart, who's our Vice Dean of Education for the College of Medicine. And Dr. Stobart is going to bring an address from the college.
Good afternoon and welcome. And thank you, Judy. Thank you, Dr. Smith. Thank you, Meredith. It's an honor to be here this afternoon to celebrate our newest colleagues in the profession of medicine. It's my privilege to bring the message on behalf of the College of Medicine to all of you here today, both in person and virtually. By now, the students, you've completed your first year of medical school. In normal times, as Dr. McCaig said, we would be doing this in the fall. But circumstances have postponed it up until this point. We're excited to be able to be here with you today to gather in person for the ceremony. I want to welcome you, first year class, to students as the College of Medicine and congratulate you on the first of many steps that you will take in being a medical doctor. I look forward to each of you having a long and rewarding career in medicine. The white coat ceremony is a rite of passage for first-year medical students, done across North America and around the world. It's an important event in your life as a USask medical student. The ceremony impresses upon you that you have entered into the profession of medicine and that you are received here as new colleagues. As new colleagues, you are servant leaders, and your responsibilities to the profession have begun. I do ask you to do one thing. When you're on the stage and when you're standing up and you're getting your white coat, take a moment to take a mental memory shot of what's happening. Something that you can draw on later in life as you go through the other steps of being a physician. Just take that quick second of a medical, as you look out on the audience, as you look out at your classmates, as you look out at your parents or your spouses or your partners or your children. And take that little memory for further use in the future. Congratulations on behalf of the College of Medicine, and welcome to the study of medicine and the profession. Thank you.
I will next ask you to join me in welcoming Dr. John Mark Opondo to provide our keynote address. So Dr. Opondo is the Medical Health Officer at the Saskatchewan Health Authority, and he's a very valued healthcare leader in our province, serving as Deputy Medical Health Officer for Population and Public Health. He's also a member of the Saskatchewan HIV Leadership Team and recently co-chief of the COVID-19 Pandemic Offensive Strategy. He has helped keep us all safe in the last 2 years. He's a critical conduit for reliable information to continually flow between physicians and the public. And during the pandemic, he's regularly led physician town hall meetings while guiding the Saskatchewan Health Authority's efforts to navigate one of the biggest healthcare crises of our time. Please join me in welcoming Dr. John Marco Pondo. We're very lucky to have him with us today.
Thank you very much, Dr. McCraig, for that very, very kind welcome. As introduced, my name is Dr. John Marco Pondo, and maybe I'll also start, first of all, by thanking Elder Judy for opening us up and welcoming us here in a good way. And I also want to give my land recognition to the traditional caretakers of this land, both First Nations and Métis. Me, as a new immigrant to Canada, have felt very welcome and have made this my home. And I hope to be able to continue to support this work and work in this community in a very, very constructive and a useful way, because we're in this together. So I'm going to try and get into this really quickly. My role is I think probably one of the easier one, and I was actually wondering, I'd have hoped to stand right in front of the students, because that's really primarily the group that I want to speak to, but I'm also talking to the parents and the families and friends and some of your leaders that have brought this event, and I'll try and go through this in a systematic way so you can really follow what I'm trying to say. If I was to say what is the theme of what I'd like to say today is, for me, in my years of practice, 18 of which have been right here in Saskatchewan, in the Saskatoon area, I've learned quite a few things on the way. And I hope, some of those tidbits might be useful. But one of the things that I think is a really important asset in the practice of medicine, this is more for the class, is really trying to develop your natural instincts for healing and that gut instinct, really the reason why you went into medicine in the first place. But let me first of all start off with the formalities, and really I want to thank Dean Preston Smith for being our leader and really having us here today. The Vice Dean, Ken Stobert, who we've been introduced to, the other Vice Deans and Associate Deans, Dr. McCraig and Dr. Malin as our undergraduate Deans and Associate Deans, parents, family, friends, and a special bow to the class of 2025. This is the MD class of 2025, so it's not just any class, and hopefully with this, I can actually do justice to your induction and your joining the rest of us in the front lines of medicine. But last but not least, I do want to thank Derek Thiessen for his tenacity in getting us all here to this day. Derek did call me in the fall, and we'd arranged a date. The third wave landed. I remember him talking to me in December, trying to get something else organized, and that time, we're thinking, well, let's see, but Omicron is looking kind of funny, we don't know, and lo and behold, the fourth wave arose, but he was able to get me out of my bunker. Truly, this is the first time I've worn a suit in about 2 years, and although he said business casual, thank goodness, I left my battle fatigues at home, and really was appropriate for this very important occasion. Parents, alumni, fellow physicians, I know amongst the VIPs, I've seen a lot of my good friends, Janet and Veronica. I'm so happy, you know, we're here. And it's really an honor to speak to the class. I'm an international medical graduate, but I'm also really closely affiliated with the University of Saskatchewan. You know, if I can paint a quick trajectory so that you guys can get a sense of my journey, you know, I would have been the class of 1989, not to, yeah, not to date myself, but, you know, with these masks, you can never tell. You can never tell how someone is. But I think, you know, the last 2 years has really been a learning time in my career. It's a big arc and a huge trajectory from graduating, doing my house officer work. In Kenya, we follow much of the British traditions, and the positions are named similar to what you'd find in the UK, house officer, senior house officer. Then I went and did an actual residency in obstetrics and gynecology, so do have some clinical skills hidden somewhere back there. But after that, I've been in refugee health. I've worked in the United States, did a master's in public health at the center at Emory University, which is right next door to the Centers of Disease Control. A couple of mentors there were really, really important. You know, just as much as I salute the strategic and the leadership that really helps us move forward in the university, even in my own lifetime, you know, during my career, I've had some real important people of influence. You know, those of you, you may know some of these individuals, like names of Bill Fagey and Dr. Gangarosa. Bill Fagey, for those of you who are interested in the history of medicine, and particularly the history of public health, Bill Fagey was the director of the Centers of Disease Control when CDC and other partners led the world in eradicating smallpox. Smallpox is the only disease that we have so far been able to eradicate. So Bill Fagey is a really interesting guy in the sense that he goes down in history. This was during his tenure, and lots of people listen to things when Bill talks. And he's an interesting guy. Anyway, he is really an important mentor. But one of the things that I've learned in my career and in my practice is you need to learn the data, you need to learn the important information. However, at the same time, you also need to learn how to develop what I'm going to call your internal GPS, which is your moral, your ethical, your emotional, your intuition, which will really help round you up and help you with decisions. Because in medicine, it is unbelievable the number of decisions you have to make in the course of your career, let alone in the course of the day. And I can give you my day in the pandemic. It's important and it's interesting. And really, as I recall a little bit of my whistle stop in my past, you know, it's not just a collection of positions. It's really just to show you that as you enter the world of medicine, it actually opens up another world. It opens a world of lots of opportunities. The field of medicine alone, in terms of specialties, in terms of what you might choose to do, is large. It opens up a lot of travel, and that's how you find me traveling all the way from Africa. This is East Africa, for those of you who have a little more of a geography bent, to, well, let me just start. Kenya, Sudan, Somalia, Rwanda, Georgia, US, that's the southern United States, New York, Saskatchewan, Saskatoon. Everybody asks me, well, where's the next stop? I think I can only go northwards. So, Athabasca, Polar, you know, circumpolar health. Who knows? You know, the world is big, and there's lots you can do. But, you know, it's not really a matter of what you as an individual can do. A lot of the work, the more you get into medicine and in the practice of medicine, it's the teamwork that brings you success. And one of the things that you can learn early in your career is working with your peers, working with your colleagues, working with all the teams that the university has assembled around you to help you learn and help you understand. And that teamwork is really, really helpful and important. However, you will find along the journey, there are times where you have to decide. This is what it means to be a physician and what it means to be a physician leader. The patient comes to you, presents their history, you take in the data, you do a physical exam, you have all the information based on your training and your knowledge, but you have to decide, what do you do? And whatever you do, you need to make sure that you are comfortable and you're sure. And I'm sure, being at the University of Saskatchewan is going to put you in a good place in terms of making the right decision. But this is where developing that internal GPS and emotional intelligence and your intuition is important. And trust me, as I continue, I might explain a little bit more about this. So for the class of 2025, you're unique in many ways. I think it's not just you, but your peers who were born in this new age. I was just thinking back this morning. I carried my notes and I did a backup on my phone. And when I was a medical student, if I just could give you a little bit of a sense, you'd have to get your textbooks, you'd have to spend your time at the library, you'd be going from the dorm to the wards, doing your work in the wards to the library, spending the whole day in the library, because that's the only place you'd find the books, back to the dorm. That was your life. However, in 2022, for the students of today, there's an endless amount of data. There's a lot of information out there. The phone itself is probably more powerful than the computers of my day, which is not that long ago. The data is important, but I think there's many ways in which people receive data and information. And I'm going to try and tie in a little bit of pandemic in this, because a lot of what you have witnessed during the pandemic times, even why today is special. I think you might be the only class that can really say, how this particular event got pushed and pushed by the different waves of the pandemic. I don't think any other class is ever going to have that experience. If you talk to anyone in public health, the last big seismic event like this was the Spanish flu in 1918. So you have to go back that far. So you're special already. But the data that's out there comes in many forms. There's lots of information that's out there. People, community rely on getting their data in many, many ways, whether it's through the newspapers, whether it's through TV, whether it's cable TV, Facebook, or Twitter. And that data is important and is useful in many, many ways. But one of the things you really have to do as practicing physicians in 2020 and beyond is the data is important. You have to learn how to evaluate the data. You need to know your data. And particularly the new sources of information I'm talking about, which is social media, Facebook. I have no problem with Facebook. I recently first opened my account, but I'm not very active. It was to try and follow my physician groups. But Twitter and WhatsApp, trying to remember the other one. That shows you how much of a new media savvy guy I am. But the problem with the new media is it reaches lots of people, which is not bad in itself. But media has begun to cater and tailor and send messages based on your past media use. So you do have very informed people, but they're very much informed on one side of the discussion. And I'll tell you, in the pandemic, this has been a very, very interesting journey and a very interesting space to navigate. Not only were we dealing with a pandemic of infectious disease, but we're also dealing with an epidemic of information and a flood of information, which we've now termed kind of the infodemic. And I think this is going to be really part of the challenge of the future. It's not going to be lack of information. There's lots of information out there. There's lots of sources of information, but it's how to get to the right information at the right time so that you understand your patients and so that you also understand the environment so you can actually make informed decisions that will support you and support your patients in the right way. So infodemic is a reality, and that's something that we need to harness. The other thing that I found during pandemic, and this may sound strange, I work in one of the most advanced healthcare systems, I think, in Canada, probably in North America, probably in the world. However, getting patient information quickly in a digital way or whatever information you need still has a way to go. Data and information is one thing, but clinical information, digitizing clinical information is really, really important. And I think, for your generation who've grown up with social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, I think is what I was trying to remember, and Instagram. Yeah, Instagram is the big one, yeah. You're the guys who really know, and you really know how to use this. Some of your parents and myself, those are real things. And really the things that I was actually going to try and say, much as we know about the digital world, but when I'm talking about digital health and digital information, when your patients sit in front of you and they've already presented their history, whether with a public health person on the phone, whether it's at the ER and you're sitting in the ward, many times the patient assumes you have the same information. I've heard countless times patients complaining, particularly if it's a really, really sensitive history and experience that they're trying to relay to you, is each time I come in, I have to relay and repeat the same story. Judy actually gave us an example, residential school experience, which was really, really traumatic. And some are still healing. Some haven't healed at all. So really trying to find a good way of getting patient information in front of the right provider when you do need it is important. And what I jumped one line and jumped to saying it's a real thing. So poor parents, I already hammered them once. But what I was saying is the new world, the digital world, uses things like, so this is something that I practice with my kids all the time, the metaverse, the Internet of Things. Those are not just me saying those things. Those are real things. This is the real new digital environment that we're moving into. However, as young doctors who are going into clinical practice, the world is open to you. You don't have to get clarity right now of what you're going to do or how you're going to do it. Be present now. You will find your purpose. But maybe that preamble was about advice in terms of avoiding getting into polarized positions. It's interesting this morning as I was listening to the news, old school, on the radio, and I'd love somebody to ask me, what's a radio? But listening to the news, there's a petition in Calgary, in one of the neighborhoods, where the neighbors are just fed up of anti-vaxxers and anti-mandate folks protesting every weekend at their neighborhood and just disrupting. And this has been going on for the last 4 weeks. So you can see pandemic has come with some really, really interesting positions, but it would be easy for me as a public health leader and as a physician to vilify and not understand the other side. And I'm just saying, one of the things as a practicing physician in the future is to really understand, the problem with polarization is it actually ends up paralyzing us and paralyzing any action we can take. And I'm not trying to claim that all positions are right. But as physicians and as healers, it is our job to meet our patients where they're at. One of my colleagues in this journey, who some of you may know or some of you might encounter in your training, Dr. John Fro, who is my counterpart on the acute care side. He is the defensive strategy co-chief. You know, he keeps on telling me he is surprised 2 years into the pandemic, he has patients who presents to him in the ER today with multiple pre-existing comorbidities with no COVID vaccine at all. And if you followed the data, you know, the highest risk for COVID is age and having pre-existing comorbidities. Anyway, today, in the modern day, I think there's many ways we can get reliable information. We need to seek informed sources of data. I always like picking on Fox News because they are so classical. You know, if you always watch Fox News, there's no harm switching and watching CBC or watching a different channel that might give you an opposing point of view. Once you get the kind of data, you know, really what I'm really saying is understand your sources of data, evaluate them, weigh the data, and when you decide to take action, you know, at first, do no harm. If you're anticipating what will happen in 2025, this is primum non nocere, which is really a summary of what the Hippocratic Oath stands for. It doesn't mean be paralyzed and don't do anything is better than doing anything, but really understand what it is, the action you want to take, and do no harm. And you know, we really want to make sure we get to the point where we're comfortable, and we're comfortable with this decision making, because a lot of that is the life of physicians, and many times you're the team lead, and the rest of the team really decides on you to decide the course of action. I don't want to put too much pressure, because this is really what this talk is about, that at some point, you know, you make 100 good decisions, and then, you know, 101 may not fare the same way that you have. And, you know, you're constantly raising the bar, and you're always doing a good job. But don't be demoralized at any setback, because this is the reality. And, you know, I just want you to remember that failure is not failure in the sense that, okay, there's no moving forward, but it's actually a lesson. It's a life lesson. One of the things we've done at the Health Authority, for those of you who may have been around a little bit longer than 1 or 2 years, is we've done a whole lean leadership kind of exercise where we were taken through sort of management and management practices. One of the things that struck me with lean leadership, I'm going to like accelerate a little bit, is fail fast forward, which means failure is not always bad, but it makes you realize, you know, you're on the wrong course, and it is time to readjust, and it's time to learn. And when you've settled down, you know, how do you readjust and recollect yourself? You've done the work, you understand the data, you've done your homework, you've done your assignments, you've passed your exams, but you really reevaluate. And this is where, as you develop your intuition, your GPS, your moral code, those are the things that are going to be really, really important. One of the things that, as I stand here and speak to future doctors, I even say this to current practicing doctors, is we really have to understand, particularly if you're going to be working in Canada, I'm not just going to pick on Saskatchewan, I'm not going to pick on Saskatoon, you really have to understand health inequalities and health inequity exists. And it doesn't exist just out of a vacuum. There's lots of reasons why we see the inequities we see. If you followed Elder Judy's talk of her current work, it's really interesting, the footpath she follows. I know Saskatoon very well, so it was remarkable. You know, she walks from St. Paul's down past one of our primary health clinics that's really busy, so I'm sure she's involved with that particular establishment. We have First Nations Health Clinic, we have 8 Saskatoon, down to the Friendship Inn, and down to one of the biggest shelters in the province. You know, we have work to do. We have work to do here in Saskatoon, and Saskatchewan. And really, it is important for us to incorporate in our learning that being indigent or having low socioeconomic power should not deny you access to health, food, or a roof over your head. For us who have entered, received our white coats, and are doing this work, we can afford that. But we really need to work towards all of society living a reasonable lifestyle and a life of dignity. And I know that that is important, and I think certainly for the class of 2025, you can make a difference. You can make a difference in whichever area or field of medicine you choose. One of the reasons I was quite excited when Derek called me to speak is as a medical health officer working in public health, it might surprise you how many times my own physician colleagues ask me, so what do you do? Like, what do you do the whole day? Mondays, what do you, other than when you're sitting there drinking coffee. So, so they're always surprised to hear my clinical work. We have an STI clinic, by the way, so there's clinical work. But one thing I actually want to say is truly the pandemic, I'm hoping post-pandemic, that is not a question anymore. I'm hoping we have demonstrated and illustrated what you as a physician, in fact, I intentionally dropped the name of my clinical counterpart in this work. There's a lot of things you can do with a medical degree. There's a lot of opportunities. I hope I'm facing the right place with the white coats, because I keep on looking there, but you guys are here, right? So yeah, with a medical degree, it opens up lots of opportunities. There's government, there's health authority leadership kind of work. You might even decide to go into super specialized care. You know, we do have some specialties where there's just 1 or 2 people practicing in Saskatchewan. Parents, we really want to thank you. You know, you have given us a real gift. You've brought your sons and daughters to this point. But I think now it's this generation who are charged with picking up the mantle, taking us further, taking us to the next step. I think we're all excited that your generation can make us break boundaries, go further, help us deal with this polarized environment, even from pandemic. I was speaking to one of my federal counterparts who is a physician as well, Dr. Chris Archibald. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me using his name. He's the director of epidemiology and surveillance at the Public Health Agency. And it was really funny. They said, okay, well, now we have all this media and media prep for dealing with vaccine misinformation and disinformation. So I asked Chris, so are you just going to post this on the Public Health Agency website? And then you're going to get a coalition of the willing and the believing just following. You need to find a way of putting the straight, the clean, the evidence-based message in front of people who may not otherwise access your message. And what I asked Chris, you know, this is kind of, it was a joke actually, but it was serious when I thought about it, is would the federal government be willing to pay for advertising and space to put the right message in these anti-vaxxing social media walls and channels? So they said they're going to think about it. But anyway, I think that that's important. But I actually want to finish off and round off that really speaking to class of 2025 or MD class of 2025. I'm going to quote Maya Angelou, and this is what she says. When you learn, teach. When you get, give. And I'm really trying to say is, you know, try and find the purpose of getting this medical degree. In medicine, you're going to hear, you know, learn one. I'm going to get it wrong, actually. Watch one, learn one, do one, teach one. Because medicine is like that. You know, I did my salute to those who are leading us at the strategic level, those who are really the planners, the thinkers. I'm talking to the graduates, and I'm hoping, trying to set a path and a horizon for you. Because, you have it in your power to develop your skills and style of practice that will take you forward. And, this class in particular will be armed with more tools, more influence, more understanding, even than we went into the pandemic, because I'm telling you, we haven't really tackled the infodemic in a proper way, which is maybe a problem more for public health than clinical practice, but we're all in this together. But who knows? Who knows where you end up going? And I'm just going to finish off and say, the one thing that I will say, especially as clinical care is concerned, the first part of my life and practice, I'd say at least 15 years, was in direct clinical care and in direct clinical service, is one of the things that I found when talking to patients. You're getting your history, you're doing your clinical exam. It's really important, and it's an important human experience of encountering healthcare. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I've always heard, even when in my position of leadership, leadership deals with complaints. That's really what we deal with every day. And the most common complaint I get is when patients feel not listened to, they don't feel connected, and really what they really want is to be understood. They really want their clinical provider to understand why they are in front of them and what they would like to get out of that clinical encounter. So, as class of 2025, I am saying, be open. You're always going to be welcoming your friends and family, I hope, and listen. But even strangers, even in arguments that you might encounter and differences of opinion, listen carefully, listen actively, be empathetic. My hope is, as you go out and as you interact with people, particularly patients, you might be surprised to find your patients may not even agree with the treatment you're prescribing. So you need to be able to interact with them, listen with humility, and be true to yourself. I know this might have created a little bit of anxiety and hesitation as you leave this hall and say, okay, now we have our white coats, what next? But I think listening and listening with humility is the key. I know that you have the courage to look and face these issues head on. I'd like you to just make sure that even though there are many ways of interacting with patients, there's virtual care, there's you name it, can phone you and make your consultation, but always try to be empathetic and connect with your patients. And that's imperative because that will be success. But no matter what challenges, those clinical encounters raise for you, you'll find that, you feel best and you feel more fulfilled when you're true to yourself. To fulfill that, highest level of satisfaction with being a doctor and providing care, most important at the fundamental basis is be true to yourself. And we may not always know it, we may never hear it from others, but I really want to reassure you all, even those who may be uncertain, you will be okay. You will master your course, you will manage the material, be creative in your solutions, learn the data, learn to sift through all the evidence that's out there, find the right evidence, be true to yourself, be humble in your interaction with patients, be kind to others, be true to yourself, and you will be okay. And I hope with that, you understand where I'm coming from, and welcome, class of 2025.
Thank you so much, Dr. Opondo, for your words. So the gifting of white coats to our new first-year medical students is possible through the generous support of the College of Medicine Alumni Association. With our Alumni Association support, we've been holding this ceremony since 2005. I'd now like to introduce Dr. Terry Zlipko, President of the College of Medicine Alumni Association, to say a few words. Dr. Zlipko.
I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Pondo's very profound presentation. Certainly he has provided this new class with his personal and his professional experience. I'm of the old school, so I would say his presentation would fill a textbook, because that's my vintage. His presentation would fill many pages on Facebook, Instagram. So I thank Dr. Pondo for his very profound presentation to the class of 2025. Good afternoon. My name is Terry Zlipko. I'm honored to be here with you today representing the College of Medicine Alumni Association and to celebrate this important occasion. As an alumnus of the class of 1974, I am one of 3,500 proud alumni that have come before you. I fondly remember being a first-year medical student all those years ago and being filled with a sense of awe and wonder, as I'm sure you are experiencing as well several months ago when you started your medical school. Excited about the journey ahead and yet nervous about how we will get through it. I can confidently tell you today that you will get through it, just as I did, with the support of the people around you, including your family, including your friends, your personal colleagues, and the faculty, staff, and those of us who are alumni of the College of Medicine. As members of the College of Medicine community, we celebrate together during the good times and support each other in times of need, and truly starts on day one of your medical school. As medical students, you are now part of this community, and as alumni, we want you to be part of that journey. When you finish medical school, we are proud to say to you that you will be alumni, and for the first 5 years, you will not have to contribute to the Alumni Association. So something to look forward to, a little extra money in your pocket. The College of Alumni Association provides financial support for student-led initiatives that encourage health and wellness, education, and empowerment. In fact, you might have already benefited from some of the support if you have or plan to participate in activities such as the Ultrasound Symposium, the Integration Weekend, Healthcare Classic Slow Pitch Tournament, Miles for Smiles Charity Walk, the Knuckle Cup hockey game, which, by the way, is tonight at Belcher. Come and enjoy the alumni playing the medical students. I'm one of the goalies, so I hope to do very well. The Headspace membership for students and mentorship for networking events. The funding that the Alumni Association receives to support these initiatives comes directly from the alumni. Those who have come before you, who sat right where you were sitting only 10, 20, 30, or even 84 years ago. Yes, you heard that right. Our oldest living alumni of the College of Medicine started medical school at the University of Saskatchewan in 1938. These proud alumni have a long tradition of giving back. They recognize To make it through medical school, they have relied on the kindness and altruism of the generations that came before them. Now they are in a position to give back and support the next generation, you medical students, and this is your day today. When you graduate in 2025, we hope that you will get involved with the Alumni Association and find your own way to pay it forward, whether that be through offering your time, your treasures, or your talents. We remind you, our alumni, to think back when they were medical students, to recall being filled with excitement and anxiousness, perhaps feeling overwhelmed at times, and then think about how much being supported meant to them. The feeling that this conjures is why alumni will always be there to support medical students. We know because we are there. But you don't have to wait to 2025 to get involved. I encourage you to contact the Alumni Office in the College of Medicine and start building those relationships today. Who knows where those connections will take you? Although your work as a medical student has just begun, my most sincere congratulations on accomplishing so much already. Today is a day of celebration. We are honored to be here celebrating with you. The College of Medicine Alumni Association is thrilled to welcome you to the medical profession and help you along the journey as mentors, colleagues, peers, and friends. Congratulations. When you have difficult days, take the time to look at the sun, to look at the moon. It'll help you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zlipko, and we wish you lots of luck in the game tonight as well. It's my pleasure now to introduce Cheyenne Shirazi, the past president, and Hifsa Noor, the current president of the Student Medical Society of Saskatchewan. I started my role in September of 2020, and so during the first year of my role, and a challenging year in terms of the pandemic and delivery of the medical program, I would say that Cheyenne was a close partner in helping to plan, and this year as well, HIFSA has been a wonderful partner in helping to ensure that the needs of the students are presented and to work very collaboratively with the undergraduate program. So working with both of them, I feel very confident in the future of the profession, and I'm pleased to invite them to say a few words from the SMSS.
Welcome alumni, faculty, students, family, and friends to the Class of 2025 White Coat Ceremony. My name is Cheyenne Shirazi, and I am a third-year medical student as well as the past president of the Student Medical Society of Saskatchewan, or SMSS for short.
My name is Hifsa Noor. I'm a second-year medical student and the current SMSS president. We're both very grateful for the opportunity to come here and speak at this long-awaited and very exciting event.
Though we are joining together in different circumstances to celebrate, this is still a very special time of the year and one of many monumental moments in your journey to becoming a physician. There are many opportunities you will have in your 4 years in the College of Medicine, many of which would not be possible without the generous donations and resources provided by our alumni. We would like to take just a moment now to recognize the invaluable contributions the alumni have made to our college.
Today is an opportunity to share with your classmates, colleagues, faculty, family, and friends the beginning of your journey towards becoming a physician. Take photos with family today, and I encourage you to look back at these photos on days when medicine feels exhausting, draining, and at times all too much. Let these photos remind yourself of today, a milestone day of celebration, and to assure yourself that even when medicine is exhausting, draining, and at times a little too much, it's also rewarding, meaningful, and a privilege to practice. So today, I hope you take a great sense of pride when you don your white coats. This journey you have started towards becoming a doctor will be a humbling one, but also one in which you will learn a lot about yourself. This ceremony is just the beginning of what's to come. As a medical student, you're going to push yourself to limits you didn't think were possible before. You're going to surprise yourself by the amount of knowledge you're going to gain each and every day. And you're going to experience many memorable and defining firsts along the way.
Year one, it's like you're learning to ride a bike. The study skills, methodologies, and practices that allowed you to excel in undergraduate, graduate, or even previous jobs may now require some reworking, reevaluation, or perhaps a change in delivery. The new bonds and lifelong friendships you forge with your classmates, the mentorships that you gain from your teachers, and the therapeutic relationships you learn to form with your patients will all play an integral part in your everyday life. In year two, you will continue perfecting the skill of riding a bike, and you might even throw in some tricks like biking one-handed. Your clinical skills will continue to improve, and you might even experience that exciting moment when you first correctly diagnose the illness of a patient. And then when clerkship comes along, your path becomes a mountain, and there are storms and strong winds at times. You will switch 8-hour days and lectures and evening study sessions for 12-hour clinical days and 24-hour call. And yes, caffeine, your classmates, and scrub pants snacks will see you through it all. You may see your first birth, experience your first patient death, and fall madly in love with a field, and finally have an answer to the dreaded question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Lastly, the fourth year of a medical student is filled with the world of CARMs and matching to a medical specialty. The long work days, the studying, the emotional moments, and all of the hard work you've put in over 4 years will lead to the greatest privilege of all, the ability to earn the trust of society and humbly gain the title of doctor.
Medical school is a wonderful place to be, needless to say. You will surprise yourself every day with the amount of knowledge you gain and your application of medicine, but also by the growth in yourself. You will meet so many wonderful people who share your passion for the study of medication and the delivery of healthcare. You will developing lasting relationships with your fellow colleagues, health professionals, and most of all, with your patients. Along the journey, there will be times when you're going to feel overwhelmed, frustrated, stressed, and tired. This is completely normal, and every medical student feels that way at some point along their journey as they learn to ride that bike or as they try to take on that mountain. But remember, in order to be the best medical student and physician, you have to take care of yourself emotionally, spiritually, and physically first. And make sure to turn to your friends, classmates, and upper year students, because in the end, we're all in this together. Figuring out what direction you will take under the umbrella of medicine is a lot to swallow right away. Stay open-minded, get involved with the college, hold on to your love for learning, ask lots of questions, and work hard. You can and will accomplish great things here.
In closing, we're all very excited to have you join our family here at the College of Medicine. Remember, these 4 years are going to go by so quickly, so make sure that you slow down and embrace the opportunities and make lots of memories. Enjoy today and take a moment to thank those that have supported you in getting to this position. I'd like you to leave you with the last few words. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We wish you best and congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cheyenne and Hipsa. The White Coat ceremony strives to support and encourage humanism as you begin your journey to become physicians. Your coat is a gift of faith, confidence, and compassion. It symbolizes responsibility to patients and lifelong learning in the art and the science of medicine. You're welcomed today by our cloakers, who are our alumni, our faculty, and our leaders. They represent the value system of the College of Medicine and are role models in the profession. And all of them believe in your ability to carry on the noble tradition of medicine. I'd like to introduce our cloakers now. Dr. Alison Martin Barker, endocrinologist and internist in Ontario. Dr. Mike Wenzura, ophthalmologist in Prince Albert. Dr. Janet Tatusis, North Battleford Family Medicine Site Director and Clinical Associate for the Family Medicine Department. Dr. Tara Lee, Provincial Director of the Saskatchewan Longitudinal Integrated Clerkship Program with the College. Dr. Bruce Duval, Division Head for Vascular Surgery and Assistant Professor in the College. Dr. Helen Chang, Faculty Development Lead for Regina with the College of Medicine. Dr. Terry Zlipko, who you've met, the President of the College of Medicine Alumni Association. Dr. Veronica McKinney, Director of Northern Medical Services and Chair of the Indigenous Health Committee of the College of Medicine. Dr. Anurag Saxena, Associate Dean for Postgraduate Medical Education with the College of Medicine, and Dr. Kent Stobart, our Vice Dean of Medical Education with the College of Medicine. We'll be cloaking our students in groups of 10, and our medical students will introduce themselves and state their name when they come up before taking their place. I'm going to ask you to please do your very best to hold your applause until each group has been introduced. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thrilled to present to you our class of 2025. I'll invite our cloakers to come to the stage.
Abdurrahim Abshir.
I'm going to just adjust that so that they can hear you better. Can you try that again?
Abdurrahim Abshir.
Thank you. Okay, he gets some applause.
Amir Abu Sada.
Aaliyah Anderson.
Hope Anderson. Candelaria Rizizabal Londoño.
Muhammad Amjad Armanazi. Maouz Ashkar.
Janan Ashik.
Sarah Baines.
Lindsay Belazantis.
Great. And cloakers, I think you can go ahead. Thank you. Okay, and I think you can make your way off, and Dr. Smith is going to be at the end to congratulate you. And you can come up.
Abigail Barker.
Mary Chris Bautista.
Graham Barish.
Indiana Best. Stephanie Bigsby.
Samuel Rigetti Boctor.
Rachel Say.
Chantal Shabat.
Alex Clark.
Kayla Cropper. Jamie Kundle. Jenna Daly. Namrita Das. Taylor Dennison. Claire Duval.
Cole Elaschuk.
Roya Emadi. Jessica Fisher.
Lucas Alexander Bonavia Fisher.
Michaela Flamin. Emma Foreman. Lauren Fraze. Iris Geldenhuis.
Mimi Gerard.
Hi. Sam Gerges.
Thomas Goldade. Kirk Hahn.
Flynn Harriet. Mujtaba Muhammad Ibrahim.
Ramessa Ismail. Cassidy Jones.
Sergey Kens.
Bardia Kunjush.
Dine Reina Kim.
Ryan Krochak.
Devin Lobsher.
Jaden Letty.
Kennedy Lewis. Susan Liu.
Thomas Slow.
Mackenzie McCauley.
Afia Maksud.
Austin McGrath.
Abby Miller. Navona Mo.
Sydney Murray. Minha Masoa.
Kamran Nasser.
Jay Newton.
Amiola Ogunjimi.
Moyo Lua Anasanya. Alex Oreo. Anya Sigurdsson.
Monica Willette.
Evan Parchumchuk. John Perversev. Adam Pickler.
Carl Pinter. Argo Potter.
Qi Yuqian.
Jai Charan by Rabari. Zuhair Rafid Hamid.
Vitaj Ramadan. No Ram.
Kalea Rempel.
Maruk.
My name is Alicia Rutkowski.
Yusuf Abdelkhalid Saber Omar.
Huzaifa Saeed.
Avani Saxena.
Evan Seaback.
Rachel Silverberg.
Olena Simcoe.
Carmen Simonson.
Zainab Sultan.
Azazma Tanvir.
Natalie Tilbury. Erin Tilk.
Andrew Uveri.
Michaela Van Kunet.
Adam Wanzura.
Mark Wang.
Hello, I'm Mohammed Shayan Wasim.
Alexander Waslin.
Brock Weston.
Erin White. Megan Weens.
Richard Williams.
Grant Yao. Orhan Yilmaz.
So I'd like to again thank our cloakers for their work today. We'll just wait till the last group is seated. And I'll ask you all to join me in congratulating the class of 2025. Cloakers, I'll invite you to take your seats. Thank you. Please note that we're not quite through with our ceremony. There will be time for you to take photos in about 5 minutes. At the time of Hippocrates, the oath was taken by novices prior to the onset of their training. The oath affirms your commitment to the highest standards of ethical conduct in your medical practice. I'd now like to introduce Dr. Greg Mallon, the Academic Director for the Undergraduate Medical Education Program. Dr. Mallon will be reading through with the class the Hippocratic Oath. Please welcome Dr. Mallon.
Thank you, and good afternoon, class of 2025. So my responsibility is to help facilitate you getting through this oath. So what I'll do is I'll read a short segment, and then you repeat after me, and we'll go through it one bit at a time. As I begin my training as a physician at the University of Saskatchewan College of Medicine, I pledge the following. I promise to earn the trust and respect of my teachers and to return them in kind. For only through mutual trust and respect can we learn the skills required of a physician. I will adhere to the standards of professionalism as specified by the college. Such that my conduct upholds and reflects the high calling of my profession. I will accept responsibility for those medical duties that I feel prepared for. I will hold back when I am not prepared. And I will seek the experience that I need to prepare myself. I will strive to preserve the dignity, the humanity, and the privacy of all my patients. And through my openness and kindness, I will seek to earn their trust in turn. I will treat my patients and my colleagues as my fellow beings and never discriminate against them for their differences. And I will ask that they do the same for me. I will value the knowledge and the wisdom of the physicians who have preceded me. And I will add to this legacy what I am able. And I will pass it on to those who come after me. As my skills and my knowledge grow, so too will my awareness of my limitations and my errors. I will strive to recognize and understand my weaknesses. And I promise never to put an end to my studying and learning, that I might improve myself every day of my practice in all the years to come. Thanks very much. Congratulations.
Thank you so much to Dr. Mallon and to the students for leading the oath of the program. So before we close our program, I'd like to say a few thank yous and also mention tonight's Knuckle Cup doubleheader hockey game, which Dr. Zlipko introduced us to. A number of our students will be participating. This is a long-standing hockey rivalry between the medical students and alumni, and it's going to be held tonight at Merlis Belcher Place starting at 6:15 p.m. Fans are welcome to watch this free game with opportunity for free skates and prizes. So I'd encourage you to consider going if you don't have anything else going on tonight. I do want to say a huge thank you to the organizing committee for today's event, who organized it 3 times this year, so triple the work. and particularly the leadership of Sherry Peterson, our program manager. I would like to say a huge thank you to the family and friends who are here today supporting the students in the class of 2025. And I'd like to congratulate all of you. You're almost done your first year of medicine, and you look really good in your white coats. So thank you so much.